But I'll do the little intro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm so excited to have my friend and fellow eco-friendly friend with us on the podcast today. She's awesome. And now it's here. We're here with Positive Phee. Yeah.
Yay.
I'm so excited that you're here with us because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, having like someone else that also understands like the movement and, you know, just thrifting and doing all that kind of stuff. I love talking about thrifting and recycling, upcycling, that whole entire movement. And, you know, just getting to talk to someone that understands it and they can equally get as mad with me.
Yeah, exactly. It's equally mad and excited. It's
exactly.
like both the things.
Passionate.
Passionate is a good word. Passionate is a good word.
Exactly. We're gonna get real passionate about it.
Yeah.
But do you want to give like a little, like I guess a little snippet of what you do? Because I always feel like you guys always do like the best at like really basically explaining what you do.
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for having me on. I'm so excited to be here. And exactly what you said, of just like a fellow fashionista and that we're both passionate. I can't wait to have this conversation. And my name is Sophie or Phee, and my business is Positive Phee. And I basically promote fashion being circular, which means that the life cycle of clothing keeps going. So we keep on that circle.
I love that.
And once the life cycle ends, it means that the item's gone to landfill. And in landfill, it just stays there forever and ever. And as far as we know, because a lot of especially the man-made fabrics and things, we don't know how long they're going to take to decompose.
True.
So I do this through fashion events all over San Diego, and I mean, my business has evolved a lot during its time, so I think we'll probably end up touching on that later, but like in a nutshell, circular fashion and through events in San Diego.
I love it. It's really cool because we get like the little notifications that like the Google notification that says like Sew Loka or, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so we're like, whoa. So that's how we basically like came across, you know, you, and we're like, you were on a podcast and you were talking about like different peeps that do recycling, upcycling, all that kind of stuff. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like, we feel like we're like, you know, like you really just kind of like created like such a splash with that, you know, where it's like you just kind of like came and you're like, I'm gonna fucking do this. And then you like really, you have created like such a, like you've opened like a lot of people's eyes up, you know, with like introduction to like, you know, with your collaboration with Muxu, with collaboration with Alexis, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so it's very awesome to basically be able to like see like a woman actually collaborating with other businesses that are very similar, you know, which I feel like I'm like, wow, that's a very empowering, and we could all take notes, you know, because it's like, it is true. It's true to be about it, but like really like be about it, you know what I mean, where it's like you're actually like collaborating with like people that are in that kind of like same like ecosystem and like coexisting. And I feel like that's very important because it's like that is the way that you're basically strengthening the movement, you know, which I love. And you know, and we've had these conversations, me and Manny, and we're like, how could we like really get to like work with her, because it's like you do a lot of great stuff. And like one of the things that like we were really like have been very amazed with is the sip in style events, you know, which is freaking awesome. And I was like, whoa. And so do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Sip in Style has been so I've been in business for just over 3 years now, and Sip in Style has been my kind of baby that's grown within the baby of my business. And I love hosting them. I do them every 2 months in San Diego and switch up the venue each time. Basically how it works is you pay a flat fee, and I actually have the bag with me that you get. So you get a bag this size and you get to just fill it with clothes. And
that's a pretty good size bag.
It's a good size bag. Like, you get a closet refresh in this, you know, and I have shoes there and stuff too. So you get a lot, you know, for your fee.
Yeah.
And I mean, the idea is not to like stuff it to the brim. People obviously do that, but the idea is more to be intentional and to look through the items, and with there being such a wide selection of styles, and you know, like the same when you go thrifting, you're not looking at multiple of the same, so you can really get imaginative and creative and a bit more experimental. And I rent a 10-foot U-Haul every event, and it is filled to the brim with clothes, and everything is, I know, it's insane. It got to a point where I was like, this is taking too many cars. I need to do the U-Haul thing. And so basically everything is pre-prepared. So I organize everything into sizes. And I have racks, all by color as well, by item type. So for example, you'll have a rack of 4 racks of extra small. So it'll be like extra small tops on one, extra small dresses on another, extra small bottoms, so the pants, the skirts, the shorts on another, and then jeans.
Whoa.
So that's replicated for like extra small, small, medium, and then large and above. And then I have the shoes as well. So that's like all on tables, lots of shoes in all sizes. And again, it's all curated ahead. So it's organized by sizes. It's like easy for people, you know, they can come in and look around and kind of see what they're drawn to, and, you know where they're looking basically. And yeah, so basically with this, I'm really encouraging people to look at secondhand fashion as the first choice. Basically, it should always be our first choice, because there are 6 generations worth of clothes on our planet right now, which is just insane. Like, we don't even know the 6 generations of our family, like, in person.
I know,
you know what I mean?
No, I don't. So I'm like trying to think.
Like 6 generations, like, how do we have that many clothes? How have we gotten to this point and so quickly? I know. And why don't we use what we have already? And all of my inventory comes from the local community. Nice. So in San Diego, if I host primarily women's events, and I do kids events as well, but primarily my focus is women. So when women are clearing their closets and they have items that they no longer wear for whatever reason, and a lot of the time, you know, these will be like very gently loved items, like brand new with tags even, and but it's just not their thing anymore for whatever reason, or maybe they were gifted it or whatever, and they bring them to me, and then I basically go through and curate everything, and any items that I can't use for the events, if they don't meet that standard of like new, I give direct to refugees across the border. Nice. And so these are items that can still be worn, but maybe like have a little hole, or you know, but they're still perfectly wearable and like good to wear. So those items go there, and then anything that is beyond, sometimes I'll get some pieces that are just beyond wear, and those I send to 4 days, which they downcycle. So, and downcycling is where you turn something into a lesser textile, so turning it into like carpet or furniture stuffing or installation.
That's so
cool.
It's
like close to 100% of what's given to me. But basically 100% of what's given to me goes back into our community in some way or another.
Nice, that's awesome.
And compared to, you know, the thrift stores and things out there where we've just got to this point where there's just such an excess, that a lot of thrift stores, unfortunately, only about 10% of what they get given goes back onto the shop floor. And it's just purely because they just get such an insane amount of clothing, because we just have this, you know, addiction to buying, like as a planet, basically. It's not just America, it's not just anywhere, it's everywhere. And so with this, you know, with the 90% that doesn't end up on the shop floor, a lot of that ends up being shipped overseas, and it becomes the problem of the third world countries that are mostly the ones making our clothes in the first place, and it's so unfair. And as soon as I found out that fact, that was like a huge turning point for me to be really driven and like make my business sustainable, make it about, you know, circular fashion.
Yeah.
And using what we have.
And I love that, because we did talk about that documentary and I got the name completely wrong.
So it's The True Cost of Fashion.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point for me. That was where I learned that fact. And that was watching that, which was in 2020. So pretty recent actually.
Yeah.
But that was where it was weird, because I almost, I was talking to Manny earlier about my story, and basically before I came to San Diego, I'd been working in the fashion industry in London for 10 years, and I'd studied in fashion and done just all sorts. I'd like been a manager of a flagship luxury retailer. I'd been a stylist. I'd interned with buying offices. I'd worked in fashion PR, and done like London and Paris fashion weeks, and had a really broad experience because I was so curious about the industry and, you know, what happened in each corner, because there's so many different areas of the industry. And then after 10 years, I was kind of done with it. I was like, fuck this. Like, there's so much toxicity, and I had never actually worked in sustainability at all in fashion when I was in England. And it was other parts, you know, that are also toxic. There's, you know, a lot of shaming, like body shaming. There's a lot of just kind of toxic environments. I think for all the toxic, there's also a lot of good. There's, you know, a lot of creativity. There's a lot of, I always had a lot of very good experiences of working with women and, you know, having this girl power kind of empowerment vibe to the fashion industry. But alongside that can also be bitchiness, can also be, you know, negative side. So I basically, when I came out here, I was done with the industry and didn't really want to work in fashion anymore. And I had taken some time out, and I did some traveling, and I was traveling solo in Europe, and I'd gone home in between and like saved money and, you know, just worked in an office for the first time in my life and all this stuff that I was like, oh, this is the 9 to 5. Oh, weekends. Oh, wow. And yeah, basically when I came back, I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to spend another winter in England. I'm really, really lucky because my mom is American, so I have dual citizenship, and it had always been my dream to come to California. None of my family is from here, but it was just where I was drawn to. I just knew it in my gut that one day I'm going to live there. I don't know when, and people thought I was crazy, like she's never going to go. Yeah. But I knew I would.
Look at you now.
Look at me now. I'm here. But yeah, there was just that point where I was like, now's the time. I'm going to go. And my brother was actually, one of my brothers was out in San Diego. So it's my first stop. And then when I came to San Diego, I was just like, okay, this is where I've been looking for. This is my city. I love it here. That. And because I'd been, you know, in this time where I was like, who am I? What do I want? Like, what lifestyle do I want? What kind of energy do I want in the city that I live? And I really wanted to make sure that I chose somewhere that was for me, not for a boyfriend, not for a job, not for any reason but myself. And so when I came here, I was like, yeah, this is it.
That's
I love
awesome.
San Diego so much. But I still didn't want to work in fashion yet. I was experimenting in the wellness industry and the fitness industry, and just kind of exploring, and had like part-time gigs and was traveling still. And then to make extra money, I was like, I should do some personal shopping on the side. And then at the very beginning of 2020, I basically was like, well, how can I promote my personal shopping? How can I kind of connect? Because I'd been here for only a year and a little bit at that point. I was traveling a lot. So I really didn't, I didn't have a huge network here or anything like that. And so it's like, how can I get to know people locally? And like, maybe they need some styling and some personal shopping. And so I decided to throw a clothing swap in January 2020. And I promoted it, and I really didn't expect more than like 10 people to come, but it ended up being like 40 people, and I hosted it at the house I was living in at the time, and everyone just kind of took over the house. I'd made the house into a shop, basically.
That's awesome.
So I had all the racks up. I got people to bring clothes in advance, because I was like, I don't want this to be a clothing swap where there's like chaos, where there's just stuff dumped on the floor. Totally a time and a place for that, and it's awesome. But it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted it to be curated. I wanted it to feel like a boutique kind of experience. And I had champagne for everyone and stuff like that. Made it fun. I'm like, this is a Saturday girls kind of day,
I love that.
Like, let's just have fun. And so I pre-curated it and made the house a shop. I was like, oh, my boyfriend's very, very patient. This is great. and so basically when I saw the response, and I was like, wow, okay, there's really a love of secondhand, and there's a market for this side of things. And so I did, this is literally right before the pandemic, so I did, I think, one more event of that kind before we were shut down.
Wow.
And then I had all these clothes left. I had all this inventory, because I was like ready for the March event. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'll postpone that till June. We'll be back then. And then I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen. And so it didn't take long for me to realize, okay, we're not going to be doing any events anytime soon.
Yeah.
What else can I do? Like, I've got all these clothes, like, what can I do? And so I kind of merged the two ideas and did virtual shopping appointments.
Wow.
So I had all this inventory, and I would, ask people what they were looking for and send them pictures of items. And then that was kind of where the filler bag idea came too, because I was like, okay, how can I do this? And want to make it, affordable, make it like a flat fee type of thing. And I already had Positive Phee as my brand name. And so it became, okay, you pay a flat positive fee, you have a positive experience, you have a positive impact on the planet. And that was basically how it started. And
that's awesome.
It was so much fun. And then because of the pandemic and the situation that we were in, and so many people were doing a huge clear out of their closet, and nowhere was taking donations. Goodwill wasn't, like, all of these types of thrift stores, places, they just were not. I was like, bring them to me. Whatever you need to get rid of, bring it to me. If you want to do a flat fee, we can fill a bag too. And so that was it. So I basically was like, okay, this is it. This is it. And I for the first time in my life, really, had this time where I was able to flexibly, I didn't have, what am I trying to say? I guess for the first time in my life, I was on my own schedule.
I love that.
What I would say.
I love that.
So I wasn't,
on someone
pulled
else's
here and there. I was kind of like, okay, wait a minute, I can really give this a go and see, what happens. And I had time to watch all these documentaries, and that was how the true cost came up. And so up until this point, I thought, this is cool, this is great, this is sustainable too, great, that's a nice little extra. Then when I watched true cost of fashion, I was like, oh shit, this is really, really bad. Like, I don't want to be any part of this like the traditional fashion industry. I want nothing to do with it at all. Like, this just isn't worth it. Like, me buying a dress, is that worth it to that, to the system, to the garment workers and all of that? And so then that was a huge catalyst to then really, really focus on, okay, this is more than what I thought it was. This is a sustainable movement. This is focusing on circular fashion, and this is raising awareness. This is education. This is all of these things. And this then became my mission. It was more than an experience at that point. I was like, okay, this is cool. I want to make people feel good in what they wear, but now this has a whole other layer to it. And so from then on I was just super, just driven to just get this out there. And as soon as I could do like in-person appointments, I hosted outside and hosted inside with masks, and did little, because the malls and everything were open pretty much throughout the entire pandemic too. So I was like, hey guys, why not come and do this instead? This is better than spending money on crap.
Yeah,
exactly. The crap. And
I love it.
So and it was great as well, because I was able to offer a safe environment for people to have a social interaction and to do something and to feel good about themselves, and especially for people who were living alone. It was actually, from that point of view, I was like, wow, I feel so honored that I can hold this space for people and give someone an experience when there's no experiences going on right now. It's like really, really, it's a weird, there was so much uncertainty and so much going on. So to be able to safely host, we were so lucky in San Diego, being somewhere sunny and hot and being able to actually be outside. Exactly. And to be able to, so I literally had racks of clothes in the front garden. And it was great, because then also people would walk past and be like, they're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I think one of my girlfriends accidentally stumbled.
Oh, no way. That's amazing.
And she's like, wow, this looks great.
So cool.
And then she was like, you gotta like pay to like do the thing. And they're like, and so they were so curious about it, but that's awesome. I love that.
It was so funny. I had so many people come through and I'm like, oh no, this is a private appointment. I'm so sorry, but here's my info. Like, hit me up. Let's arrange this.
I love that.
It was so fun. It was nice to be able to offer something and to just, it kept me super busy during that time too. And then as soon as we were, allowed to start doing events and things, then that was when that all started. And I started doing, from the beginning, collaborative events.
That's super cool.
Everything. I've been really lucky to work with I just feel like in San Diego, there's just so many, especially women, doing badass things here, and so creative and so inventive, and just being able to partner with people is just, I think, like, as you stand for it too, collaboration over competition is where it's at, because we are all stronger together. We're all fighting the same fight,
so true.
And so it's really cool.
I love it.
Really, really, it's been a journey.
That's so freaking awesome. And the cool thing is that, like, because there's always the excuse, right, of like, with any kind of movement, everyone, with the organic movement, it's so expensive and whatever, and so with any kind of movement, anytime that you're trying to really like create like some kind of impact or anything like that, there's always that kind of like excuse of like, well, it's too X, Y, and Z. But with this, what you're offering is a bag full of clothes. You fill that bag up for a flat fee, and that's like such a great idea, because you don't have the excuse of like, well, it's too expensive to support this movement, right? And it's like, you're getting like a really good sized bag, you're getting like a lot for your money, and you're really thinking about it in the way where it's like, all this stuff, it could have ended up in a landfill, but it's like you're doing it in a very conscious way of actually saying, hey, you know what, you could go to the mall and you could contribute to like this beast, that feels like never ending, but it's like, we are creating this big impact by just basically being able to like have an alternative of how you could look great in like clothes that is secondhand, and I feel like there's always been like, there was a stigma against it before, and like now people are like, no, like I've found Christian Dior like blouses and like Oscar de la Renta freaking stuff, and so for me, I'm like, and it's all stuff that maybe had a little hole that I needed to fix, and then I fix it and it's perfect, but it's like, you are seeing a lot of these kind of things where you're like, whoa, like that movement is growing, and I love that you're offering that alternative of like, you don't have to spend a lot to look great. You know, which is awesome. And I love I've seen a lot of the videos and I'm like, there's a lot of really good stuff over there, you know? So you're like, oh my God, it's great, you know, because I always think about like, I've been to a lot of like thrift stores and I'm like, wow, this thrift store, looks like everything's really dirty in here, you know? You're just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know? So I've been to those kind of like places where I'm like, whoa, this looks like, they just took in everything and you're just like,
it straight up.
And you're like, here you go. But it's like, I've seen your stuff and I'm like, whoa, there's some really nice stuff in there, and a lot of that stuff, it's like, stuff that you could basically be like, this is like worth way more if you actually tallied it up, and like, if, because I know at thrift stores they have like prices, right? Where it's like for a dress, it's like anywhere between like $25-$30, and this and that. And so it's like if you really tallied up everything that's in that bag, I mean, you're really giving them a really good deal.
Exactly.
Which is awesome.
It's really, because it's really important to me with the sip and style for it to be attainable, because exactly what you said about people having these blocks to sustainability. And with fashion, it's always, sustainable fashion's too expensive. And it doesn't have to be, and it's not. And it depends what you're talking about, like it's more so that we need to retrain our brains to value the fact that a t-shirt doesn't just appear, it's made and it takes time, and we've just been brainwashed into thinking that a t-shirt should cost $2 because H&M told us that. And it's not cool. And so it's a great way for, I've had a lot of people come through who maybe not sustainably focused in their life necessarily. Yeah. And it's like an entry into that. Yeah. Because they're like, oh, this is cool. I get a bag of clothes and I just pay a flat fee and I get a drink too. Oh, fun. That sounds great. And then they start to see, okay, there's actually some good stuff here. This is cool. Then they go back and they clear out their closet because they have that confidence that, I feel like when you don't know what you have coming in, you kind of sometimes are like, oh, but I might wear this thing. But when you have new stuff, you're like, oh, I can let this thing go now, because there's enough clothes out there, 6 generations worth of clothing.
That's crazy.
And we have, there's always something. There's always going to be another cute dress or another cute top or whatever. There's so much.
So true.
And so just like being able to change that mentality. I mean, through this business, I've changed my relationship to clothing and fashion.
I love
that.
For
sure. Because I used to be way more fixated on like, oh, this item, this is going to be the one that's going to like change my life, like this. When I own that, I'm going to like, oh, my life, it's just going to be everything, you know? And I mean, there is an element of that. I mean, clothing is super powerful, but it doesn't have to be in that way. We can get it thrifted. We can get it upcycled. We can get all these other options to buying new, and it doesn't have to be from that energy, because actually buying new, to me now knowing all the facts, buying new is bad energy because it's come from a very toxic production cycle. And when we wear something secondhand or upcycled or handmade sustainably by supporting someone locally, that has come to us with a good energy and
so true.
Actually a good intention.
And
I love we're able to continue the life cycle. So even if the secondhand item is a fast fashion brand, for example, it's still really important that we keep that item alive, per se, for as long as possible, like keep that life cycle going, because the alternative is that it just goes to landfill, and that sucks.
And that's where it dies.
That's where it dies. Exactly. And like, I mean, I think we've all seen now on Instagram and TikTok these videos of literally items in landfill that have their tags and they're like brand new items.
I know.
And it's just so insane. It's so insane that we just have these items. Sad. These items are just, because, you know, we know the behind the scenes of the fashion industry, and a lot of people don't see that side, but we know that not 100% of items get sold. If you're working for a traditional fashion company, it's not in that it's not in the production cycle. It's on to the next, or what's the next trend, let's push this. And those items just kind of get put aside. I mean, even in luxury fashion, like Burberry were caught, I think it was like 5-6 years ago now, they were caught burning more inventory than the revenue they'd made. It was something crazy like that. It was an insane amount of stock. Yeah. And just so elitist to think that, oh, well, we don't want to discount this, even though they have an outlet, so they do discount some stock. So you imagine, like, wow, how much stock did they really have, that they have an outlet, they have a main, and they still had to burn stuff just so that the wrong people didn't get it or whatever. You know, it's just, it's insane. It's disgusting.
It's such a, it's like that element of like, really? Like, you know, as opposed to keeping this like thing alive, right? Where it's like, even when you burn something, like how much fumes you're releasing out, all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like there's so many awesome benefits to secondhand style, you know. But I feel like a lot of people, they don't know how to shop secondhand style, because it becomes overwhelming, right? You're just seeing like just racks of stuff, and like there's no, like, there's no 5 of them, there's no order, you know, there's no size order, there's no any of that kind of stuff. I like that, because I'm like, ooh, texture, and so touch everything, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like there is people that they're like, I just want to be able to see a mannequin wearing clothes, and then it's easy for them to like just replicate that. But I feel like the cool thing about like thrifting, and one of the reasons why like I really fell in love with it, is that it's like, it's so rare for you to like find multiples of one thing. And so it really allows for you to have like this really like fun and like funky like closet, you know, where you're like, ooh. And like, I love that hunt of like being able to look at the rack and like basically being able to point out what's silk, what's cashmere, what's like, you know, wool, what's like the natural fibers, right? And so I love that. I love being able to like just run my hands through it, and it's very rare to find natural fibers now, you know, where it's like 100% silk, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. But when I do find it, I'm like, ooh, this is like such a gem, and you gotta touch it, and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like that's my favorite part about thrifting, right, is like being able to see the potential of what that item could be, and like really thinking about it in the kind of way where it's like, hey, how could you style this? How can it fit into your wardrobe now, you know, and how can it live for a period of time? Because it's like, I feel like even with like thrifting, it's like making that really like good thrift decision to keep it alive, to like mend it, to do all that kind of stuff. So like that, it's not just like, okay, this is also going to be a season thing where it's like you're just going to wear it for, you know, the spring, and then you're going to get rid of it, you know. So it's like really creating like a capsule where it's like you could have it for years and years, you know, and it's not just something where it's like, this is for a party on Saturday, and then I'm just gonna get rid of it,
this mentality. 100%.
And so it's like, I feel like having it's like we have too many options, you know. And so it's like, when you have too many options, then you're like, well, what else can I get? And like, you know, and so it becomes one of those kind of things where it's like, how can we make good decisions to where it is going to impact the now, and then it's also going to impact the then, you know, because that's the part where it's like, we're not really thinking about the long term of our clothes, and like how, you know, washing them, how you know, taking care of them, you know, makes the lifespan like even longer, you know. So all that kind of stuff. And you know, that's why for me, I'm like, I've always loved thrifting for those kind of like reasons, where I'm like, ooh, look at all this like cool stuff that you could find. And then you know, you could really start to like think about like, oh, this would look great with like these shoes that I have, and you know, exactly. Or even just kind of like seeing the potential of like, these are jeans, but I could turn it into a skirt, you know, and it really goes down to like what you've been doing with the
Rebound jeans collection.
Yeah, which is so freaking cool. How did you think about that?
So, well, this idea came to me because the inventory I get is from the local community, and so obviously I get a lot of jeans.
Yeah.
And especially with this trend where for the first time in basically 2 decades, we have kind of moved away from the skinny jean and doing more of like a looser fit for literally the first time in a while, because the skinny jean was really dominating for a long time.
True.
So I've been seeing an influx of skinny jeans coming to me, which is great because obviously people, I mean, I still wear skinny jeans too. I love all the shapes, depends on my mood. But but as I said before, the items for Sip and Style, I check through each item and make sure that they are actually in like new condition, so no little tiny stains, no little holes, etc. So if I get given jeans that have a little imperfection, I had been keeping them aside, and I was like, I know when the project's going to come, like there's going to be a project for jeans. And jeans, as we know, are like one of the worst, you know, items of clothing for our planet, because there's so many sides, the toxic chemicals that are used to create all these different effects on the jeans. And there's everyone owns jeans. Even if you hate fashion, don't think you are a part of fashion, you still own probably 10 pairs of jeans, or at least 5 pairs of jeans. The average American owns 7 apparently.
Wow.
But I feel like a lot of people own more than that.
Yeah.
And each pair of jeans is using the equivalent drinking water of 5.5 years worth of drinking water, which is just crazy. And so, you know,
that's like 1,800 gallons of water
exactly
for one pair of jeans.
Exactly.
That's
it's so much one pair. And so if we add it up, it's just like, what? So I'm literally, in my lifetime, I've owned way more pairs of jeans than my drinking water, for example.
How is that like not like a crime to like, you know, like basically the production of denim? How is that like? Because it's like, think about it, like here in California, like for as long as I could remember, we've been in a drought for a really long time, and then it rains and we're like, okay, I think we're good, and then like we get into a drought again, and then we're like, oh shit, stop watering your freaking, you know, your yard every like day, you know. And so knowing that, but then knowing how there's these companies that are allowed to produce like that is like insane. And one of the things I also wanted to mention is that you don't have to be a fashion person or anything like that to understand or to like even jump on the movement of like sustainability, because 100%. It isn't just like, hey, like you want to look cool in clothes and you want to be conscious about it. It's like, it's more than just that. It's like really this lifestyle that we need to really get on board with, not because we both have businesses that are like in that, but because it is the number 2 pollutant in like the world. So this is the number 2 that is creating waste. So it's like, we all wear clothes, so it's like if we all did our part to not throw away clothes, or to like recycle it appropriately, or to like donate it to like, you know, specific, you know, organizations that are taking donations, that are doing it in a responsible way. If we all did that, we could change how much is actually going into a landfill. And so it is not just a fashionista or 100%. Because you're in the fashion industry or anything like that. It's not just that responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. And so I really wanted to like really make sure that we talked about that, because that is one of the things where it's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, you're in the fashion industry, so you want for people to, but it's like, we're all wearing clothes.
Exactly.
All of us.
We're all wearing clothes.
All of us.
We all have this power to change.
Exactly.
To change the way that the clothing industry is affecting our planet.
Exactly.
Because it's crazy. Because number one is oil. So like for it to be above travel, for it to be above food and all these industries that people know about, you know, people are more aware of that. It is encouraging that I feel like especially fast fashion is being highlighted much more in the general media. It's kind of going beyond just fashion documentaries or but it's still shocking. I don't know, I think because we're in this world and we're like faced with these facts all the time, and then when I speak to someone who has no idea, I'm like, nope, there's still a lot of people that don't know. It's so true. And
we get to be pioneers.
Exactly. It's awesome. I really feel like as soon as people know and they have a way to do something about it, which is what we are both offering, is we're saying, oh, this is the situation, but hey, I've got an option for you that you don't need to be a part of this,
continue to do this kind of thing. So we were I was talking to some of the kids in class today, and one of the girls was like, I really have been wanting to start a sustainable like club at school. I was like, wow, and I'm like, oh my god, these kids are awesome, you know. And I'm like, wow. So cool. And she's like, but like, and you could tell she's like an overachiever kind of like type, you know. So I'm like, you're just kind of like, oh, you're so proud of them, you know. And so she's talking about like how she's been wanting to do this, and I'm like, wow, that's so great. And she's like, yeah, but I've never really got into doing it. And I was like, oh really? I'm like, what stopped you? And she's like, I didn't find that there was other peeps that were also like aligning with me. Okay. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I get that. I'm like, but guess what? I'm like, you sometimes have to be that like spark, you know, that like really gets it going. But I was telling her, I was like, you know, when you start to think about it in like the way of like, you know, trying to make lifestyle changes, right, where it's like how much waste you produce and like how much, you know, like your day-to-day life, you know, and like where you could cut plastic, where you could cut, you know, X, Y, and Z. But it's like really thinking about it in that kind of way, it becomes overwhelming, you know, because a lot of people are like, whoa, I'm having to do so much. It feels like too much, you know. And so for me, I always tell people, I'm like, just start with really basic things, like extremely basic things, where it's like, I've been wanting to make reusable napkins to sell because I'm like, this would be great, you know, because it's like
fabric,
and it's just fabric, and we have reusable napkins in our house where we're like, I grew up with that, you know. It's like we took the time to like embroider them and did all that kind of stuff, and so we never bought napkins. We were just kind of like, we had a drawer, and whenever we needed a napkin, we would go through there and then, you know, wash the whole entire thing, and they would put them back in the drawer. And so for me, like, I grew up with like, you know, not having like disposable cups, not having disposable like forks, all that kind of stuff. I never grew up with that because since we were poor, it was harder for us to like buy things that we couldn't utilize on a day-to-day basis, you know. And like recycling every single container, you know, where you're like, this is for butter, but now it has salsa in it, and you're just like, you're like opening it up to get some butter, and you're like, oh, there's salsa in here. Well, different one, you know. And so, but it's like, it is one of those kind of things where it's like, how can you utilize and like just cut down on your waste? And it doesn't have to be like a huge, like where you're like completely like changing everything. It's like, it's making those little tiny things, you know, where it's like, as opposed to like getting a disposable fork, how about carrying like a set of like a, you know, like a spoon and a fork and a knife, you know, and those kind of things, you know. So it's like, for me, like, it's just kind of like being like mindful of those things to like be able to like cut down on like how much we're actually like just, you know, creating more of a waste. And especially with clothes, like clothes is like one of those things where it's like, you could really be mindful with like, hey, how could we like make sure that we continue it in like in like this circle, as opposed to it just kind of then like dying off.
Sew Loka presents You Reap What You Sow, a cut and sew fashion show 10 years in the making. Saturday, December 9th, 2023, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Bread and Salt Gallery in Barrio Logan, San Diego. This fashion show is 10 years in the making. It's going to be the most beautiful show of the year. So many things happening under one roof. Sewing, sustainability, music, vendors, art, food, everything you can think of all mixed together, because that's what Sew Loka is. It's a lot of different things stitched together. If you would like to be a sponsor, if you would like to help out in some way, please message us at Claudia@sewloka.com. Please send us a message. We would love to talk with you. We would love to collaborate with you. This is going to be our biggest event ever, our first official fashion show, all cut and sewn by Claudia. 15 models, 15 outfits. And it's not just a fashion show. It's going to be an incredible day of vendors, food, fun, family, community, art, sustainability, fashion, everything under one roof. Everything that Sew Loka stands for. It's going to be such a beautiful event. If you would like to be a sponsor, we would love to have you. And thank you so much. You keep the creative fire inside of all of us burning bright, and we appreciate you.
I love that idea of, making sure that people are aware of like what ends up happening if it does end up in a landfill, because I feel like, a lot of people are just kind of like, oh, like this goes in the trash, and you're like, whoa, like it takes a really long time for something to like decompose in a landfill, and especially when it's not natural fibers.
Exactly. And especially because like everything nowadays is pretty much produced, right? It's like a mix of different fibers, and so even if it's a 50% cotton t-shirt, but it's also 50% polyester, it's like that cotton, it's like it's not going anywhere. And it's so frustrating, and there's so many recycling programs and things, there's so much greenwashing out there where companies like H&M are saying, oh, we'll give you money off if you give us your things to recycle. And it's like, it came out. It like has been proven now. Everyone knew it wasn't true, but it's been proven. They literally don't recycle it because like less than 1% of items are recycled. So it's,
and the crazy thing is like
crazy.
So I thought about it, right, where I was like, because I saw like I think I saw it in that documentary. That they were like, that they accept like scraps, and then you could also take your clothing donations and stuff like that. And so I was like, I wonder what like the scraps or like these, or what was part of this garment is like recycled or whatever. And so I kind of thought like, I'm like, for fast fashion industry, right, like where it's like you're basically mass production, all that kind of stuff, it is the worst model to basically then all of a sudden, basically, if you're mass producing something and then all of a sudden you have to utilize these other things to like create the pockets, it takes so much time to basically cut pieces out of like a piece that's already been created. And so like let's say that you're like upcycling like this, this
like romper or
this
something.
romper, and you're gonna cut it and you're gonna make it into like a hat or a bucket hat or whatever. It's like it takes longer for you to do that because it's like it's not a flat piece of fabric, it's actually like it's already been constructed. And so being able to like flatten it out and like work around the seams, all that kind of stuff, it's harder to do that than it is to like have like one gigantic piece of fabric that you could basically layer it multiple times and cut everything super quick. And so being able to be like efficient with like time and all that kind of stuff, that's how the fast fashion industry like thrives, But it's like for me, like I was like, that seems like you're going against like the model that you've already like installed into like fast. And so for me, I was like, I don't know how they would actually recycle these garments, because it really goes against everything that they stand for in like mass production and the mass production element of it. And so for me, I'm like, I was kind of waiting to kind of see what that would look like, because I was just very curious, because my dad, you know, he did a lot of mass production. So for me, like being able to, you know, take like an existing garment and turn it into something else, like I knew that took more time and like energy and all that than like actually getting a piece of fabric and, you know, laying it flat and putting all the pieces on there. And so for me, like I like the idea of, you know, seeing something and basically being like, ooh, these are, you know, old man like golf pants, like and I want to create like these really cool like, you know, punk skirts. So how can I do that, you know? So I love that idea, but I also know that it takes more time for you to be able to like work with an existing shape
and creativity. Exactly. Like you have to have the time, but also that creative mind and the freedom of the creative mind, which those H&M garment workers, they don't have any freedom, that's for sure. But it's so crazy because like you can tell straight away, okay, that seems like way too good to be true. But to the average person walking into a place like H&M, they think, oh my God, I'm doing something good for the planet. Yay, go me. And I'm going to go buy another $2 top now because I got my discount. It's just, it's so frustrating. But I think that people are starting to see more and more, which is so encouraging. And it also, then they're able to see the value in upcycling and actually producing stuff in a sustainable way, because exactly what you said about having that creativity and the skill as well to be able to look at something and turn a pair of golf pants into a punk skirt. I mean, that's like not something everyone can do.
But it's so much
fun. So much. I love everything that you produce. Is so cool. Seriously, because you provide people to have fun with fashion and to like experiment and like have something unique, because nowadays if you go to the mall, you're not finding anything unique. Everything is the same, you know.
That's so true.
Whereas like, I mean, we're here right now and like everything is so like everything's unique.
It's so fun because
so many colors. And
I was so traumatized when I was in middle school, and I worked at the time, so my dad, you know, he would pay me to like salad swap me with him and stuff. And so I always had money, you know. And so I was like, I could buy whatever I want.
In the fashion, you know? Like in the swap meet, and so
that's awesome. It was really cool, and I loved being like that responsible like kid of like, you know, because it really taught me, because my dad was only paying me like $10 a day, and so and I worked more than 8 hours, you know, and so I basically was making $10 a day, and if I wanted something that was $20, I knew that I had to work 2 days, and I knew that like I had to save up in order to buy things. And so it really taught me a lot of things of like working hard and like making sure that whatever I wanted I could get, but I needed to be patient with myself to be able to purchase it, you know. And so it was like on a Sunday, and we had gone to the mall, and there was this place that I really loved going to, and it was called Red Zone, and it was like way too expensive for me because I was like a kid. And also, you know, they had like really cool like plaid pants that had like all the chains on them, and I was like, so like, oh my God, I really need a pair of like these pants. And so they were like $80 pants, and I was like, this is gonna take me like 8 days, like that was gonna be like a whole month for me to work, you know, and that's not even including tax or anything. And so it really was like something where it's like I just couldn't see myself like as this obtainable goal for me to like complete, you know. So I was really like bummed out about it. But on the way to, you know, to the store that I really liked, because everything about this store was like cool. Like they had like leopard carpet, and like it just smelled like so incense in there, and like everyone was rude, and you were like, wow, they're so cool, you know. And
wow, so, they don't even talk to me.
They don't even care. How cool, you know? They just don't so care, funny. You know? And so I was like, wow, they're so cool. And you're just like, how could I be as cool as them, you know?
I need those pants.
Yeah, I need those damn pants. And so I'm like, you know, because I think I'm cool at the time because I'm making my own money, you know?
Yeah,
and I was just kind of like, yeah.
You're like,
I wasn't that cool,
got your
though.
Independence. I bet you were.
So I'm like walking down like this damn mall, and I think I was like anywhere between like 11 and 12, and I'm like walking, and I remember I was really into camo at the time, and so I had like black and white camo, like a tank top, and I was, you know, I'm like a kid, so there wasn't a lot of going on down here, you know, and so I'm like walking, and here's this girl, and she's a woman, you know, so she's probably in her early 20s. She's wearing the same shirt, and I automatically was like I was reading too many of those magazines where at the end it would be like celebrities who wore it better, and I felt like I was like one of those celebrities being compared to this other girl, and like
that's the toxic side of the fashion industry.
And I knew I didn't wear it better.
Damn it!
I was like, fuck, she got like the pole,
she got the body.
Yeah, she's got boobs. And so
she got the boobs.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't have any boobs. I'm gonna wear it now and be like, do I look better now? No, but it was such a traumatizing experience for me to basically like I didn't grow up with like my parents comparing us in any kind of way, so like that comparison of like you look better in clothes than I do at like such a vulnerable state, you know, where it's like you're having already issues with like your body because you're like, I'm a woman now, you know, and you're just having like these issues.
Confusing time.
Exactly. So it was such a traumatizing experience for me. And so I felt like that really catapulted like a lot of like this kind of idea of like, I'm not going to come to the mall to buy clothes. I'm going to come to the mall for inspiration on what I could make, you know. My dad, he was very, he was doing like mass production and stuff like that. And so one of the most embarrassing things of like a Sunday afternoon is that we would go to Macy's and we would look at the clothes. And both my parents, they would kind of like look at the clothes and like look at like the seams and stuff like that. And they looked like they were very interested in the clothes, but they were just kind of like figuring out how they made it. And then they would go home and they would like make it. And so for me,
badass.
It was like the most embarrassing thing because you're just like, why can't we buy anything here? And they're like, because we can make it. We're gonna make it. And you're just like, oh my God. But it's like, it was one of those kind of things where I was like, whoa, like I basically was doing the same thing where I was like, oh, like this clothes looks very cool. It's extremely overpriced for like my budget, you know, of like getting $10 a day, you know. But, you know, it was one of those things where it was like, it really motivated me to basically be able to like see what was at a thrift store and basically be like, oh, if I wanted to recreate that look, how can I do it with the budget that I do have available? And so I felt like it really catapulted me into that direction of like that trauma of like, oh my God, like being like compared to like really like thinking about it in the kind of way where it's like we're all like individual people and we all want to like express ourselves with like clothes and like have like this individuality within ourselves. And I feel like, you know, like when you wear something and then someone else has the same thing, it's like, it's almost like you're just kind of like not the same anymore. It's like you're just kind of like the same. And that really, I don't know, that really did something to me. It traumatized
that
me.
moment. But how cool that you took this moment that was traumatizing and negative, but you were like, no, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna do things on my terms, and I'm gonna do something about this and make my own thing, you know, and to like see see, it's about to like take that, and that's amazing. And then now you're doing it for everyone else too. So it's
and I
incredible.
love it, like when people come in and they put it on, and I'm like, oh shit, that was meant for you.
Yeah.
And like I'm a really horrible like salesperson, like really, like I'm always like, oh my god, they look so good, but it's like I don't want to like make them feel like it's fake, that they, because in all reality they look so good, and you're like, oh my god, you look so good in that, but then it's like they're like, are you just saying that because you want me to buy it? And it's like, no, because you really do look amazing in it, so it's like for me, I'm like, oh, they look so good, and it's like, how do you say it in like the most genuine way so they're not like, are you just saying that because you want me to buy it? And it's like, no, you really
genuinely
do look amazing. So it's like, it's awesome to like for people to also understand that concept, that it's like, maybe I've never met you before, but this was really made for you, in the sense where it's like, it's not like if there's like 5 of them that are being made, it's like there's one, and that one is like perfect for you for whatever reason it is, and like you might like that color, or you might like that, the way that it fits, but it's like, it's perfect for you. And I feel like clothes should be that. Clothes should be like this feeling of like, this is for me. And like, regardless if it is a one-on-one creation, or if it's like something that you found at a thrift store that you're like, I love this because of the way that it makes you feel.
Yeah, exactly. I really think that it's so important for that connection to clothing, because we kind of, I think as a society, have got into this state where people want to wear things to like fit in, or to like be part of a trend or whatever. And it's like, nowadays it's like, trends aren't even, I mean, I know they're a thing, but they're not really. Like, it's all about, in my eyes now, wear whatever the fuck you want to wear.
Yes, and I love that.
Like, feel good in yourself. Because I mean, I definitely, I mean, I can relate to what you said. I've always, without knowing it, I always chose clothes because I liked them. Because for me, I was like, whatever I like, I'm going to feel more confident in. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, of course, we all get swayed a bit here and there by trends. But like, I always would keep my clothes. I mean, I have clothes from when I was a teenager, because
that's awesome.
I literally just, it's like, if you like something, you like it, and you're not getting it just for that reason.
Yeah, my sister, she my older sister, she always had this idea of like clothes, and like she always had like this kind of like a capsule growing up, to where she was very like mindful of like even at a really young age, because we were in high school, and she like was really like invested in like wanting to like tailor her clothes.
Oh, I love that.
Which was really awesome. And that's where I was like, oh damn. And so my dad had a bunch of sewing machines in the garage, and so I remember one time she's like, let's go in there and I'm gonna make this shirt tighter. And I was like, whoa. And I was just kind of like, and so I was like, I need to see this. And so she did it, and I was like, oh damn, I could do that to all my shirts, make them a little bit more fitted, And so I was like, whoa. And so I was like really blown away by it. But the best advice that she gave was that she was like, the way that I like to shop is basically solids and patterns that aren't seasonal patterns. Like chevrons would be considered like a seasonal, like where it's like that was like in the early 2000s, or like patterns that were very like time stamped, where vintage patterns are awesome, because it's like vintage is always like something where it's like everyone loves vintage, but something that was like too close of like a trend, she was like, I just wouldn't shop that, because then what it means is that the trend's gonna die, and then it's like you can't like you would look outdated at some point. And so I was like, oh okay. So she's like, do a lot of like solid colors, plaids never go out of style, polka dots never go out of style, stripes don't go out of style. And so I was like, whoa. So it was like one of those kind of things where I was like, oh my god, like it was awesome to have an older sister at that point, because then you're like, I'm like ahead of the game, you know. It wasn't awesome to have an older sister at the time when she was taking your clothes and wearing it, but you know, I guess it was like the trade-off of like good advice and also,
that's so
you know,
cool.
but it was really cool to kind of have that like as like a thought when you're really young, because then you could kind of like start to make those decisions of like, hey, like if you did want to create like a capsule, what would that look like, and how could you make sure that like this capsule looks great and it becomes a timeless one, as opposed to like something where it's like, this is like trending right now and like it's not going to be a trend later, you know. And especially like I feel like trends are awesome in the way where it's like, okay, cool, this is like what's cool right now, but it's like, it's also one of those cool things is that you also get to wear whatever the hell you want to wear whenever the hell you want to wear it.
Exactly.
You know? And so it's like, I love that. I love, you know, I remember in like middle school, it was like one of those things where it's like we had to wear uniforms, so we didn't really have like the,
I wore a uniform too,
you know. So it's like I feel like as an adult then you're kind of like, ooh, you get to express yourself however you want, you know, which I love. But it's also one of those things where it's like, I feel like, you know, some people are like, ooh, I like this kind of style, and then they're like, but I also like this kind of style. And so for me, it's like, it's really about like, wear whatever you want to wear on the day that you feel like wearing it. I don't feel like you should be restricted to like this one style and then that's it. I feel like clothes is like, you know, the way that we like still like stay creative, you know, and where it's like you're basically telling the world something without really like speaking, you know. And I feel like that's like a lot of fun to be able to like get up in the morning and basically be like, ooh, if I wanted to wear this, what kind of shoes, you know, and like how would this look, and just, you know, like inspiring other people to do the same with their clothes. You know, clothes isn't just one of those things where it's like you're just kind of like, oh, we need it because it's like we can't walk around naked, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like
frowned upon.
Yeah. I know, sorry. Yeah, but it is cool to basically be able to express yourself with it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And that's what I love about clothes, you know. It's like,
it's just so fun, and it's a way to tap into creativity and play. And just like, you know, whatever's going on in your day, you can have that time in the morning where you're preparing what message you want to put out to the world, what you want to show, and it can be that creative time for you to like really think about it, and to think about how you want to feel. Like if I'm looking at my wardrobe and I'm like, I don't know what I want to wear to whatever it is, I always kind of think about that, like what do I feel like, what was an outfit that I felt really, really good in, and does that feel like that might be something that would be good for this, and then I'll go for that, because the feeling is everything, right? Because
yes, the confidence,
the confidence, and just like, because I really believe that clothing and color and everything, it all has like
sets
energy.
The mood.
Yeah, it sets the mood, and it changes. Like we don't have to be all of one thing. We're human. We have so many different.
We're very fluid.
Yeah. I love the idea of using different clothing. It's like we don't need to put ourselves in a box. No. It's not that you're this type of person or that type of person. It's like you're whatever you want to be on that day, in that minute, at that time. It's
like every day you get to be
it's the most fun. It's the most fun. I love it. Like I love getting super dressed up, and I love being casual, and I love everything in between. It's like that's what's so fun, is we get to just have fun. Like it's so great. We're so lucky.
Like shit. Like I'm not kidding.
It's very freeing actually when you're like, oh my god, I haven't done my hair at all, and like I'm wearing like sweatpants that can't really be worn outside or whatever, you know, like those sweatpants. And
oh my god, yes. Yesterday and today, that's been like my mood in the morning. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna put on makeup or do my hair until I have to, and I feel like it is like like a self-love kind of thing where it's like I'm taking the time to just basically have my hair up in a bun and like just focus on like the things that I have to get done, as opposed to like thinking like I have to look presentable because I don't have to see anyone. So I'm like, I could just look like shit right
when
now.
I have my like admin days at home and stuff, I'm like, I don't need to see anyone. This is what I'm doing.
This is what you get.
Yeah.
You know? But it's so one of the other things that I really wanted to talk about is like with thrifting, the beautiful thing about thrifting, or like, you know, the swaps and all that kind of stuff, is that we really get to, for me, like I really enjoy the thrifting because I usually add the cost of what tailoring would cost, you know, so then I'm like, oh, you know, if I were to buy new, it's gonna cost me that, plus I still have to get it tailored, because you should be getting your stuff tailored because it's basically fits your body better, which will make you look better, which will make you feel better because it's completely basically tailored to your body, you know. And so for me, like I've done like the math where I'm like, if I buy these new, this is what's gonna end up happening, and I'm still gonna have to put, you know, on top of that, like basically the tailoring cost of it. And so at that point you're just kind of like, well, if I buy new jeans, the new jeans are going to be $80 and I still have to tailor them, which would be anywhere between $25 if I took them to go get tailored, which I'm going to tailor myself, but I want to pay myself.
Exactly.
So it's like, it then becomes like one of those things where I'm like, I could get 4 pairs of jeans and it's going to basically like, I'm going to tailor all those 4, but I'm going to spend the same amount and I'm going to get 4 of them.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like, it becomes one of those kind of things where it's like you're investing in that clothes, which then that investment is, you're more likely to take care of those garments because you already understand that it's like, hey, these garments, they look great on you because they were specifically tailored to your body type, which every time that you wear them, you're like, I look amazing in it because they were tailored to your body. Exactly. And so it's like, I feel like it is really important to kind of like understand that kind of like thing too, where it's like, just because it is like a thrifted thing, it doesn't mean that you don't have to continue to invest in it. I even suggested even more. I'm like, now you have a little bit of extra fun to basically be able to like maybe hem them to like the length that you want, or maybe take them in at the waist just a little bit to create like more of like a silhouette, you know, things like that. And so that's what I love about, you know, how like more of an obtainable kind of wardrobe you could have that will make you look good, you know, as far as like you going to like the mall and just basically being like, oh my god, you know, now I have to buy, like, I remember there was a year where I had to buy slacks for work, and I just remember thinking like, oh my god, one pair of slacks is so expensive, and I was just kind of like, how do people like really do this? And then you still have to like, how come people look so good in slacks, and like you're going to the store and like you're buying your size but they don't look good on you? And so I was just so confused by that. But then I was like, wait, like all the models on these ads, they also get their clothes tailored for that ad, you know? And so for me, it was just like a game changer to like understand that if you also wanted to look a certain kind of way, like you have to be able to like invest in like the tailoring as well.
I really like that you highlighted tailoring, because tailoring is something that I think sometimes people forget about, and it gives you so many more options. Like, because when you're like going to a sip and style event, or if you're going thrifting or whatever secondhand environment, it's good to have an open mind, because you might find this piece that you're like, oh my god, that is so me, oh, it's the wrong size or whatever, right? And when you look at tailoring, you could really personalize and get the fit right. Exactly. And then your wardrobe is basically designed for you. Like, it's designer for you, and it's unique for you, and it just makes such a difference.
I love that.
And it makes things like, even like switching out the buttons of a jacket, right? It's like a cheap jacket maybe, But then if you switch out the buttons and get it tailored and fitted properly, you're like, oh, okay, this looks much more expensive, and this is going to last me longer. And it does make you want to take care of the items. Like if you love your clothes, and even going back to what we were saying about choosing things that you just love and like ignoring whether something's on trend or not, and just kind of going for what you love. If you really love what you buy, you don't have this cycle of just
so true
wanting to get rid of stuff all the time, because it's like. And one thing with Sip and Style is because it's an affordable fee, and I do them regularly, I do encourage people, if they find a piece that they're like, oh, I don't know about this piece, or like, oh, I want to wear this to a wedding or something, I'm like, cool, wear it and then bring it back. Keep that cycle going. Like if we think of it in that way, then we can still keep the cycle going. We can still keep that circularity.
And it's a responsible way.
Mind. Exactly. That's it. It's about investing in our clothes, thinking in the future, and really thinking of our responsibility.
I love that.
And our impact, because we all, even though we're all just one person, but together we have such an impact.
So
we really
true.
do. Like
so true. I love that.
So true.
I love that. Because it's like you're creating like this whole thing where it's like, if you don't, you could basically get it and then bring it back if you're just kind of like, I wanted to wear it for this thing. And it's like such a responsible way, as opposed to just basically being like, all right, take it somewhere else and then we'll see what happens with it, you know? So it's like, I love that idea that like, it's such a responsible way of like just keeping that cycle going, which is great, And I always tell everyone, if you are going to get anything tailored, if you want something to look really good on you, size up. Size up.
Have that extra fabric.
That extra fabric. And then like that, you're able to create like a really good silhouette for your shape. And, once something is a little bit bigger, it's way easier for someone to like take it in, do all that kind of stuff. If it's too small, it's very difficult for someone to like add pieces, do all that kind of stuff. But it's like, if I always tell people, size up, and you'll get like such a great fit, but it's like you have to be willing to basically size up, because I feel like there's like this size idea, like, oh my God, how can I wear a size?
There's such an attachment to sizing. I agree. And sizes are bullshit. They're just complete bullshit, because sizing is different across every brand. And it's just for women's clothes. Like men can go into a shop and they know, I'm this waist and I'm this whatever. Women don't have that luxury. But that's also women's bodies are very different. We are all completely different. And there's, maybe sometimes you find a brand that you're like, okay, this brand, this works for my body. But also most brands, they switch it up all the time. They change their sizing. There's so many brands that have really inconsistent sizing. And we've been taught to kind of have such an attachment to, oh, I'm this size. And it's so toxic. And it's so, I always think of sizing as like almost an extension of a brand's marketing, because they basically want whoever their target is to feel like they're that size. Right? Because Forever 21 sizing is going to be very different to, I don't know, like Macy's sizing, because they've got different targets. They've got different age groups and different targets. And so taking that element out and just like looking at a piece and being like, oh, I like that fabric. This has potential. Let's see what could be done with a tailor.
Exactly.
I mean, how much cooler is that than having to make sure everything is just absolutely spot on straight away, because when we have more creativity with our clothes, we can really create a wardrobe that works for us.
And that we're gonna feel confident in, because it's like
it fits right.
I have I like collecting like vintage pieces, and and I came across this really cool like dress, and it didn't have any shape or anything like that, but the pattern was awesome. And like I think one of my friends gave it to me, and he was like, oh, and it was like a very muumuu, so it was like huge, and so it had no shape, and I was like, wow, I love like this pattern, and it was like this floral, like very like 60s, almost 70s.
Cool.
Like it's such a cool, yeah, oh my god. And especially like very distinct like fabric, and so I was like, oh, I loved it so much. And so what I did is I created a shape with the dress, because I knew that like I needed to create like some kind of illusion for it to make me look good, and for it to, like, when I looked in the mirror, that it created a waist. And so I created like this whole, tailored it and everything like that. Every time I wear that dress, everyone's like, that's a really nice dress. And so I'm like, thank you. And people usually say that because the dress is a really cool dress. There's nothing too crazy about the dress, but the dress fits really well. And so it creates this illusion. And so with tailoring, you're creating an illusion of what you want for people to see as like a shape, And so I created this illusion. And so therefore they're like, wow, that dress is really nice because of the illusion that I created, And so for me,
powerful.
I feel like cool. Any kind of like outfit or anything like that, if you're able to create like some kind of like shape or anything like that, it's going to, when you look in the mirror, you're going to see areas that look smaller, and then you have the luxury of hiding areas that you don't feel comfortable with. And so it's just figuring that out, right? Where it's like, and it's also trusting a stylist, right? Where it's like, hey, a stylist would know what looks good with your body and what doesn't look good with your body. And I feel like with trends, people have this idea that all the trends are going to look good on every body type.
Yeah,
and
that's so
not true.
Actually. Yeah,
It's like some people look way better with this kind of like,
like silhouette.
Exactly. Than some other people do, And so for me, like, I'm always like, don't just try to follow this trend. Also, be aware of what looks good with your body type, because then like that, you're able to like be able to hack that. Like then you're able to create this illusion of what what shape you want to create. And so that's one of the things where it's like I really like talking about is, making sure that like people aren't following like these, trends where it's like, there was like a trend where it's like guys that were wearing the skinny jeans, and they're really big guys, and not like big as in like size, but super tall and all that kind of stuff. And people were like, whoa, these guys are wearing like skinny jeans, and they almost looked kind of like awkward because the skinny jeans, they didn't fit that body type, And so they were like, look at how much refined they look if they're wearing pants that actually go with their silhouette, as opposed to them trying to fit into like this box that, because of the trend, And so for me, I was like, that's such a I feel like that's almost like a toxic way of basically being like, hey, you need to follow this trend regardless if your body is meant to be in like this kind of shape or not, And so I felt like that is like also one of those things where it's like, just because it is a trend, it doesn't mean that like every body type should kind of follow that trend. And if you 100%. Do get it where it's like it's to the ratio of your body too, because it's like I feel like there's a lot of people where they're like, what should be like a good length for like a coat, what should be a good like how much should you size up, how much should you size down, all those kind of things. What's a good like length for pants, that kind of stuff. And so just kind of thinking about it in that kind of way also like would help.
100%. I really agree, because I think that is not taught in, I guess, mainstream fashion. Like in magazines and stuff, people don't really talk about, actually, we're all individual humans. We all have different, not only different tastes, but we have different bodies. We have different things that are going to flatter us. And it's so true. It's so true that
trust the
trust the stylist, the stylist
yeah.
and the tailor, and trust that eye of like knowing what actually looks good and feels good, and
exactly.
And you know when something fits you well, because you do feel different.
Oh,
you feel different in your body. And so it's so important. I really agree. Yeah. And that's one thing I love, like, to share is, like, we all have much more power with dressing than we're kind of taught in a way, you know, with trends and everything. It's like, oh, you, like, exactly what you're saying of, oh, you have to wear this and that. And that's why people feel bad in fashion sometimes. It's because they feel like, oh, well, I'm wearing what's cool, but I don't feel good.
Exactly.
And it's because maybe it's not the right thing for them, or maybe they deep down don't even like it, but they just don't know what they like or whatever. And it's a cool thing about being in fashion and having our own businesses and being able to help people in this way, because it makes such a difference to day-to-day life. To be able to wear things that you feel good in.
Exactly. And that's like the whole purpose, is like, you should feel really good with the clothes that you're wearing. Like for me, like I dress with like comfort involved, right? Because it's like I'm gonna have to be like you know, leaning moving around, bending over, doing all that kind of stuff. So it's like, if I'm like restricted with like what I'm able to do, like I'm not gonna wear it as often. And I want to wear my clothes as often as possible, because I don't want them to just be decorations in a drawer. I want to like utilize them, and I want to get the wear and tear, and I want to mend them, and I want to give them character and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, it doesn't happen if we're not wearing them.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah, because actually wearing in, especially certain fabrics like denim and leather, and like wearing them in, and they do kind of change a bit over time, but it's like adding to the story of that item, and just that's so cool. It's fashion is so fun.
It is.
I think that's the main thing, really, is that taking all the kind of seriousness out of fashion and making it a positive thing again, and just enjoying it again.
I love it.
And like not being part of this vicious production cycle and industry, and just having fun with it, and like taking it back into our own hands and own power. Like, fuck the trends, I'm gonna wear what I want to wear, like what I feel good in. And
I love it.
That's the power.
When is the next one?
So the next Sip and Style is on Sunday the 12th of November.
Nice.
So it's coming up.
Tickets available? When do they? Okay.
Yes, cool. Tickets are available. So the early bird is on sale until October 31st. So it's easy to remember until Halloween. And then the price on the door, well, in between I have like a general ticket price, and then it goes up on the day of. And so definitely get your tickets early bird. And
where can they get them?
So they can get them, so if they follow me on Instagram at positive_phee, which is PHEE, in my link in bio, I always have my events updated on there.
Nice.
So there's a link in the link in bio, or if anyone's not on Instagram, they can go to my website, which is positive phee.com, and I have an events section there. So always my events are updated on both of those places, depending on what's easier. And yeah, you can purchase your ticket either through Eventbrite, or if you want to save on the fees, you can do it via Venmo, and the instructions are all on Eventbrite. But reach out to me if anything. But yeah, and the Sip and Style will be at Kairoa Brewery in University Heights.
Fun.
It's 11:30 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. You get a drink and your bag to fill with clothes included with your ticket.
Wow.
And generally the vibe is that people come through and they'll like shop a bit and then go get their drink and chill, and then shop a bit more, and new stuff's coming out all the time. So the racks are always kept full. So new inventory is coming out. There's a changing room set up too. It's a communal changing room. So I always encourage people to wear like leggings and stuff that they can like easily try stuff over, because there isn't any private changing, but it makes it more fun because then all the women trying on are like, girl, that looks good on you, or like, I'm not sure about that dress, but what about this would look cool and that would look good on you. And it just creates this like feel good vibe, you know, and just like a fun way to experience fashion, which
I love it.
You don't get at the mall or, you know, these traditional ways of shopping. And so so basically I encourage people to just come through and see what's there and just kind of be very open-minded with it all, you know, and like take your time with it, be intentional and try stuff on so you know the fit and everything.
I love it.
And then so we're taking over the whole of the downstairs, and upstairs they have brunch, which I highly recommend. So when you're like done with the shopping side of things, I say shopping, it's all included in the flat Positive Phee. So it's not the traditional shopping of per item, but when you're done with that, go up, have some brunch and a drink, because you'll need it after it.
You're gonna need it. Have
another drink. Hopefully it'll be a nice sunny day, because they have a rooftop upstairs. So it's like a nice it's a nice vibe, and it changes every time, but that's where it's going to be in November, and it'll be the second time hosting at that location, which I really liked this location. We did one in July at that location. Perfect. It's a cool venue. Cool. They're a cool brewery.
Exciting.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to support you, where can they find you?
So, Instagram, I guess, is where all of the stuff is on Instagram. Like, if you have Instagram, follow me, positive_phee, PHEE. Website is positivephee.com. You can sign up to my mailing list there too. That's a really good way to like keep up to date with the events. Nice. I always update everything through there, and I feel like those are the best two ways to connect and reach out. Like, send me a DM, like ask me questions, and any curiosity about the sustainable fashion movement, then just feel free to ask things.
Super cool.
Oh, and also donation wise, if people ever want to drop off, you can message me on Instagram or via my website, and I'm based in Hillcrest. That's where the donations can be dropped off. Nice. So just hit me up.
Central.
Hit me up if there's ever donations, because they're going to go back into our local community.
That's super cool. Anything else you want to share with us?
The jeans.
Yes.
The jeans, because I think I started saying about how it kind of came about. So basically the skinny jeans I had that were basically ready for upcycle. They're like in need of upcycling, and I had them aside. And then when I met Anara and we spoke about, we want to work together, we don't know how yet. And then I was like, wait a minute, because I have a sewing machine, but I don't have one that works with denim. I have like the basic sewing machine. And I was like, do you have a sewing machine that works with denim? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay, wait, I think I know what this project should be. And I was like, there's so many cool like bell-bottom jeans everywhere right now. Why don't we use this inventory I have and repurpose? And so I had actually found a pair at the thrift store, I think it was at Buffalo Exchange, that I bought and was like, these are badass. I think this is what I want this denim line to look like. And they had this triangle here. So it was like, it was perfect, you know, just cutting them up the seam and putting this extra bit of fabric. I love that. All from repurposed denim. And so Anara has done all the creative side of things.
That's so cool.
I'm on more the marketing and the obviously having the fabric as well. But it's been such a joy to work together and to be able to use. Thank you so much. We had our like event launch on Sunday at a local coffee shop, Ascento, which is such a great little coffee shop, and it was a lot of fun to see. Cool. And so we have a collection of there were 8, now 7 in the collection, And then the other option is they're in a range of sizes. But the other option, which people were coming through on Sunday to do, is to bring your skinny jeans that you no longer wear that you want to be of this design. And then we have the fabric to choose from.
That's so cool.
So basically custom making your own jeans in this style.
Wow.
So that's the option that's proven more popular. Like the range is kind of more of a, if you want to buy it, great, but it's also like more of a demonstration of this is what can be, and these are the kind of options idea. And then these are the legs that you can choose from, because it's the legs that are used. These are the legs. Cool. Choose your legs and customize it up, and
that's so awesome.
Have a pair of jeans that fit on the waist and the hips and the butt, but maybe you just don't want to wear that style anymore. Like, switch it out.
I love that. Such a great idea.
That's Rebell. So we've got an Instagram account for that, which is Rebell, REBELL jeans. So it's
so freaking cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to see like more of these collaborations, and we'll collaborate soon too.
Right, exactly. That's
so yeah. I'm excited. I'm just so grateful that you came to the studio, that we met, that we've been like doing really cool stuff, and we're gonna continue to do a lot of really cool stuff. Yes. And so it's awesome to just strengthen the movement, so I'm excited that you got to come and talk about like your business and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. And do you want to say anything else?
I want to say thank you as well, because I love, you are such an inspiration to me. Thank you. Everything you've done is just so badass. And I just it's so cool to connect and to be able to be here today and speak about all this stuff. And we're on the same page. We're stronger together. We've got there's just so many cool opportunities, and I'm really excited to collaborate and everything. It's gonna be great. So
woohoo.
Excited.
Cheers to being pioneers.
Yes, cheers. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess we'll put it down. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
That was awesome.
That was really, really great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we could just chat.
Oh my God. I know. I'm like, I always try to be like super mindful. I'm like, oh fuck. Like, I always think I'm like, she's also got it too,